James and Diep froze the moment the news reached them. Fear did not fade. It tightened its grip, wrapping itself around their hearts as the world seemed to stop moving altogether. The street noises dulled. Time slowed. Breath became shallow. In the middle of such despair, one unthinkable question hovered in the air. Could a miracle still exist? Far from the panic and the tears. No one could have imagined that Mr. Wan, an elderly man known for his quiet kindness and solitary life, had taken the little girl for a walk. With nothing but gentle presence and silent care, he would unknowingly alter the course of a story that had already begun to feel unbearable. The sun was sinking slowly behind the town when the phone rang. It cut through the late afternoon calm like thunder across a clear sky. James stood motionless, the receiver still in his hand as the color drained from his face. Diep, standing beside him, knew instantly that something was terribly wrong. The trembling silence said everything. No words were needed. "She's not here," James finally whispered, his voice unrecognizable. As if it no longer belonged to him, in that instant, his world collapsed. His daughter's name echoed relentlessly in his mind, looping without mercy. Just hours earlier, Ni had been laughing, playing with her brightly colored toys. Running barefoot across the yard. The memory burned. How could she vanish so completely? Without a trace. Without a sound. Cold fear, the kind parents know but pray never to meet, crept into their chests. Pain followed, sharp and suffocating. They stepped into the street almost without thinking. The town they had always known, familiar, routine, safe, transformed into a maze of shadows. Every corner felt like it was hiding a question without an answer. James walked fast, far too fast, as if speed itself could rewind time. Diep followed, tears filling her eyes, silently blaming herself for every small decision. Elsewhere, just a few streets away, Ni walked hand in hand with an older man. He was known to everyone as kind, quiet, and alone. Every moment of trust. "Mr. Wan," he smiled gently as he listened to the little girl chatter endlessly beside him. He had found her sitting by herself, watching the road with curious but calm eyes. "I wasn't scared," Ni would later say. "I just knew adults always know what to do." "Let's take a walk," he had suggested softly. "Yes," she replied, trusting him in the way only children still can, believing without question in the goodness of the world. He showed her the fish in the pond. Mr. Wan bought her candy. He told her stories about the old trees that had stood longer than anyone could remember. For him, caring for Ni felt like an unexpected gift, a simple joy that lit something long dormant inside his quiet life. The search back on the other side of town, James and Diep kept searching, calling her name again and again. Each unanswered question deepened their suffering, yet beneath the pain, a fragile thought flickered like a spark in the dark. What if she's safe? What if, against all odds, there is still room for a miracle? Night arrived slowly. Heavy with uncertainty and a fate no one could yet imagine. Darkness fell over the town like a suffocating shroud. Silence followed, broken only by desperate voices calling out her name. James felt every minute stretch endlessly, as if time itself had stopped to punish him. Diep walked beside him, fists clenched, holding back tears that threatened to spill at any moment. They searched every face for a sign. "Have you seen a little girl?" James asked again and again, his voice worn thin by urgency and exhaustion. The answers were always the same: hesitant looks, shaking heads, awkward silence. The town that felt warm and welcoming by day now seemed vast and unfamiliar. Lights turned on in houses one by one, silent witnesses to the agony of two parents who no longer knew where to turn. A quiet kindness far away, Mr. Wan sat with Ni on a bench outside his home. He offered her a glass of water and listened attentively as she spoke about her mother. Her father, cornfields, and the rich smell of boiled corn. To Wan, her words were soft music. It had been a long time since anyone had filled his home with a voice so alive. Your parents must be worried, he said gently. We'll look for them early tomorrow. Ni felt calm. She did not fully understand the storm of emotions unfolding elsewhere. To her, the world was still a safe place, full of helping hands and sincere smiles. Hope rekindled back in the streets. Despair reached its peak. Diep suddenly stopped, unable to walk any further. The tears finally fell, silent, heavy, unstoppable. James wrapped his arms around her tightly, feeling fear transform into guilt. He thought of all the times he had assumed everything would be fine, of how routine could lull even the deepest love into sleep. Then, suddenly, a neighbor came running. He had seen a little girl with an elderly man walking quietly near the pond. The information was small, but it ignited a flame in the darkness. It wasn't an answer. But it was a direction, a thread to cling to. James and Diep exchanged a look weighted with hope and fear. Without a word, they ran. The sound of a miracle. The path to the pond felt longer than ever. Each step was heavy with dread, as if the earth itself were trying to slow them down. The night wind brushed against their faces, cold and relentless, carrying with it tangled thoughts. Everyday memories, and a fear too deep to name. A faint light outside an old house. Then they saw it. Not bright, but in the darkness, it glowed like a promise. James slowed. His heart pounded. Diep clung to his arm, breathless, afraid hope might shatter if they came too close. And then, they heard it. A child's laughter, undeniable. Diep's legs trembled. Clear. That laughter sounded like morning slipping through a window, like a memory of simpler, happier days. James closed his eyes for a moment, just to be sure he wasn't dreaming. Ni sat beside Mr. Wan, watching the water in the pond as he told her stories of a time when the village was nothing but dirt roads and children ran freely without fear. For Wan, caring for Ni felt like a gift from fate, a quiet reminder that his life still held purpose. Dad, Mom. Time seemed to stop. After the night, Diep ran to her, holding her with a strength born of relief and tears. James stood a few steps behind, breathing deeply, thanking God in silence. In that embrace, guilt and fear slowly dissolved. Mr. Wan explained simply how he had found Ni alone, how he hadn't wanted to leave her by herself. There was no blame, only gratitude. As they walked home, the sky began to lighten, not yet dawn, but the promise of one. James held Diep's hand and Ni's hand at the same time. He understood then that life, in all its daily haste and carelessness, would always test them. But even in the longest night, a small light could still guide them home. What remains when the sun finally rose, bathing the house in warm light? James felt something settle inside him. Not just relief. A decision. Protection, he realized, does not mean control. It means presence, and sometimes miracles arrive in the simplest form, a child's laughter in the middle of the night.